What if Darth Vader cloned and trained Anakin from Episode 2? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Darth Vader marches through the pristine halls of Kamino, his dark presence drinking up the bright lights from Tipoca City. Clone guards and Kaminoan scientists alike avoid the Dark Lord as he makes his way to Lama Su's office. The Prime Minister inclines his head respectfully towards Darth Vader.
Ah, Lord Vader. What may I do for you?
I need your services, Prime Minister. I understand you can produce clones for me. I require one that is not altered by artificial aging.
Yes, that is correct. If necessary, we can forgo that procedure and allow our subjects to age normally. Do you need such a project? How many units would the Empire like to order?
The Empire is not interested in cloning at the moment. This is for a personal project of mine. However, this is under the expectation that you are discreet. As I said, this is a personal project, and I would rather not have records of this appear in the Imperial Records.
We Kaminoans are no strangers to secrecy. We created the clone army without a soul knowing. A single clone shall present no problem. Now, may we have the template?
Vader holds up a small cylinder and slides it across the table. When Lama Su examines it, his eyes widen slightly, and he clears his throat.
My lord, I must tell you that while my researchers will have no problem creating the clone, Force users are tricky. There is no guarantee we can replicate their M count.
I understand, but I would still have this project done.
Without another word, the Dark Lord rises to his feet and marches off. Although his armor hides his expression, this was far more difficult than he anticipated. While gathering his DNA was not an issue, he couldn't help but feel like this was a betrayal of who he was, and that he had to accept he was now a monster instead of Anakin Skywalker. Those thoughts follow him as he departs Kamino. Palpatine's next few missions don't help with this idea, as the Chancellor has him wiping out the remnants of the CIS or hunting down Jedi survivors. While Vader has no problems, he can feel the disdain that Palpatine regards him with. Far from being his ideal apprentice, he has now just become another tool. The anger that Vader feels at being held in such low regard continues to fuel him. This anger continues to fuel him until the fateful day when the Kaminoans hand him his clone. Vader peers into the bundle they bring into his castle and spots a familiar set of blue eyes, along with a set of light brown hair. Although he has no images of how he looked as an infant, the baby matches the description his mother had of him when he was a newborn. Vader thanks the Kaminoans for their work and returns inside. For the next few years, Anakin is raised almost entirely by servant droids. With Vader out on missions, he barely has any time to spend with his clone, and he does not trust anyone enough to reveal the existence of this clone. That all changes when Anakin reaches the age of 6, when most younglings are trained. Vader decides to do the same with Anakin. But while the Kaminoans cannot make him Force-sensitive, Vader has alternative sources. He has carefully studied Palpatine's plans like Project Necromancer, and secured a few vials of Omega's blood. This allows Anakin some Force abilities. While his midichlorian count is not as high as the original, it is enough for him to pass off as a Sith acolyte. With his new powers, Vader teaches him about the Force, but not in the spiritualistic way the Jedi understand it. Instead, the Dark Lord describes it in purely materialistic terms, as a tool to be used in combat and to gain power. To help in these teachings, Vader secretly recruits monks from Jedha to teach Anakin about the Force. Their belief in the Force runs strong, and they teach Anakin how to maximize his powers, particularly in strength and agility. Coupled with his masterful lightsaber abilities, the clone becomes just as dangerous as any Jedi Knight. When he comes of age, Vader has him enrolled in the Inquisitors as an apprentice. To hide his identity, Vader has Anakin wear a custom set of Inquisitor armor that hides his face. While the Grand Inquisitor is initially unimpressed, Anakin proves to be an adept assassin and kills many of his targets. His powers are more than a match for the other Inquisitors, and ensure no one questions him while his training and tactics allow him to take on even experienced Jedi Masters on equal footing. Slowly, Anakin climbs the ranks of the Inquisitors and becomes the second brother of the Inquisition. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Anakin's true-born children continue to be raised in secret by Obi-Wan and Bail Organa. The latter eventually finds herself part of the Rebel Alliance. What started as a scattered group of resistance cells grows into a powerful organization as more and more people find themselves disillusioned by the Empire. This gives groups like the Jedi a place to rally behind, and soon more sightings of them emerge. For Anakin, this allows him to further hone his skills, taking out key figures in the rebellion, Jedi and non-Force sensitive alike. But while he rarely fails to defeat his opponents, he continues to learn and study their skills to further hone his skills. However, in terms of natural ability, Anakin falls behind and must work triple time to catch up. Even Vader never lets him fully forget this fact. But that does not stop him from being sent to Malachor to investigate a Sith temple alongside other Inquisitors. Their opponent wouldn't be some helpless Jedi. Instead, it would be the infamous Darth Maul, accompanied by Ahsoka, Kanan Jarrus, and Ezra Bridger. Ahsoka closes her eyes and feels the Inquisitors closing in around them. 4 Inquisitors attack from all directions, including Anakin. While the Inquisitors deal with the other Jedi, he makes a beeline for Ahsoka. Although he cannot explain it, he feels a strange pull towards her, as there is something strangely familiar about her. He ignites his lightsaber and begins to whirl it around, sending a wheel of death in Ahsoka's direction. She brings up her lightsaber to block, feeling the surge of dark energy emanating from this place. Eventually, she twists free and unleashes a fierce counter-barrage, allowing the Force to make her faster. Anakin pours his energies into the battle, matching her speed and swinging his lightsaber in a set of lightning-fast thrusts. But Ahsoka's 2 lightsabers allow her to strike from multiple directions. Several of these strikes come dangerously close to hitting him, but Anakin barely keeps her at bay. Seeing him struggle, Ahsoka presses forward and unleashes a force push that slams Anakin against the wall. He takes a deep breath and tries to calm himself.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
He continues this chant, trying to build up his strength and energy, letting the dark energy flow through him. While he can't break her hold on him, he can reach for his lightsaber and hurl it towards her. This forces Ahsoka to dive out of the way and allows Anakin to recover.
Who are you?
The Inquisitor doesn't say anything and reaches at her, slamming his fist against them and swinging his lightsaber in a familiar pattern of attacks. The movements seem eerily familiar to Anakin's technique. Slowly, Ahsoka begins to block these attacks, using the same training her master gave her so many years ago. She dodges a sweeping strike, her eyes never leaving his stance. The longer she watches, the more familiar it becomes. She'd seen this form countless times before, practiced alongside it in the Jedi Temple, sparred against it under the watchful eyes of the Jedi Masters.
Anakin?
The clone hesitates, just for a fraction of a second, but it's enough for Ahsoka to press her advantage. He tries to throw a force push, but she whirls, sending a powerful kick to his midsection. He staggers back, but quickly regains his footing. Yet, she notices his breathing is uneven, as fatigue is starting to get to him. With a growl, the clone surges forward, thrusting his lightsaber at her chest, but Ahsoka sidesteps and uses her lightsaber to slash at his mask, damaging the front and revealing a set of furious blue eyes.
Anakin, it's you!
The clone blinks, momentarily stunned as he recognizes her voice. But he doesn't have time to contemplate this as the battle turns against the Inquisitors. The other 3 Inquisitors fall before Ezra, Maul, and Kanan. Realizing he can't take all 4 of them alone, Anakin activates his lightsaber and spins off, leaving Ahsoka to ponder everything that just happened. But soon after that, Vader himself arrives to protect the Sith Temple. His presence manages to prevent them from accessing everything, but the stench of failure lingers as he returns to his ship to confront his clone. This is a rare black mark on his otherwise perfect record of missions, and Vader is not pleased.
Despite all your training, it seems like you were not prepared for this mission.
That Jedi. She was more powerful than anything I ever imagined.
Yes, I would hope so. I trained her myself, which is why I had hoped my current student would be strong enough to defeat her. It seems I was mistaken.
It was merely a setback. Give me another opportunity, and I shall defeat her.
No. I have already seen your weakness. She has more experience than you.
The Dark Lord leaves him, while Anakin is seething in anger. For the next few years, he spends his time serving as an Inquisitor, but using all his spare time to track down Ahsoka to avenge his defeat, and also to show his master that he is far from a second-rate apprentice. He looks for any old contacts and missions that can provide clues to her location, or any other Jedi he can build his strength fighting. Among them is an encounter by Sister Reva, who fought Obi-Wan Kenobi, a former associate of Ahsoka. As he studies the mission, he is curious about the mention of a young girl, Senator Bail Organa's daughter. He eventually learns that she suspected that Leia may have been Vader's daughter, but Anakin does not indicate this. After all, why would he bother cloning himself if he had a daughter he could train anyway? As night falls on Alderaan, Anakin slips through the shadows, moving with the same stealth he once employed on so many missions, his presence barely a whisper among the silent corridors. But this time he doesn't intend to kill anyone, simply gather some data. He presses his back against the wall as several guards walk by. Once their footsteps vanish, he heads toward Leia's room. His mind races, questions swirling with every step. The thought that Leia might be Vader's daughter unsettles him. It could mean a threat to his position, one that is already on tenuous ground. A flicker of resentment crosses his mind as he makes his way inside. The princess is sleeping soundly on her bed, but Anakin does not go close. Instead, he reaches for a small brush on her dresser where some hair remains. Anakin carefully plucks one out and places it in a secure vial before darting off. But little does he know that several hidden sensors are monitoring his activities. After the last time an Inquisitor infiltrated their palace and spirited off their daughter, Leia's parents waste no expense in upgrading their security. The next morning, Bail captures all of this and contacts Obi-Wan with grim news. But when he appears, Obi-Wan already looks troubled as he receives another message from Ahsoka, warning him of this clone. When they see the footage, Ahsoka instantly recognizes the dark armor of Anakin.
That's him. That's Anakin.
Not Anakin. His clone. But if he's on Alderaan, he may have discovered Leia. We can take no more chances.
Agreed. And this means Luke may also be in trouble. You must secure him as well. Later, in a remote Imperial facility, Anakin's clone watches as the DNA test results process on a screen. As the analysis concludes, the display flashes with a name: Leia Organa, the biological child of Anakin Skywalker. A cold satisfaction spreads across his face. So it's true. A part of him is unnerved by the truth, knowing there is something out there more of a Skywalker than him, who can control the powers that have long eluded him. But at the same time, there is some small satisfaction in the fact that he knows something his master does not. And for the Sith, knowledge is power. Rather than reveal this information to him, Anakin instead secretly contacts Emperor Palpatine with this information. Anakin kneels in a secluded, dimly lit chamber, a small holographic projector illuminating his face. As the holographic image of Emperor Palpatine flickers to life before him, he feels a chill pass over him.
What is it, Inquisitor? This communication is unexpected.
Your Excellency, I have information you will find most tantalizing. But first, you must know who I am. He reaches out and pulls off his helmet, revealing Anakin's features. Palpatine's eyes widen, but then he begins to smile, slowly.
This is most unexpected, but I suppose it makes sense. Vader would be a fool if he did not plan to overthrow me. Very well, Anakin. You have my attention.
Thank you, my lord. Leia Organa of Alderaan is Darth Vader's daughter. A flicker of intrigue passes over Palpatine's expression, though he quickly feigns disinterest.
How curious. And why would this matter to me,
Because if she is the child of Darth Vader, then she could pose a threat to your position. Should Lord Vader learn about this, he may take her on as an apprentice, and the two could be Dangerous.
So dangerous you decided to report it to me. So, you wish to betray your master.
Lord Vader always saw me as a shadow, a fragment of himself, incapable of wielding true power. By helping you secure your position, I secure my own and ensure no one can threaten me.
You are right. This child, this Leia, could indeed become a threat. A threat that could undermine all I've built and all you've worked for.
So you understand why I've come to you. If I am to be useful, I need to protect my position, and I need the strength to match it. Anakin has trained me in the ways of the Force, but I feel as though I've learned everything I can from him.
Perhaps there is a way to make you even stronger with the Force. But it will not be from your current master. I will require you to swear your allegiance to me.
Anything for the chance to become more. To become the true Anakin Skywalker.
Then we shall begin.
With this revelation, Bail has Ahsoka and Obi-Wan take Leia and Luke to begin their training. Although they would rather wait a few years, this revelation spurs them into action and decides that they must train them. Meanwhile, Palpatine begins to gather what few records survive of Project Necromancer. Although most of the facilities were destroyed, a few samples of blood survived. From there, he begins investigating and trying to recreate their success. All the while, Anakin continues to pose as the loyal servant of Vader, continuing his assassination work. As the project nears its completion, Palpatine decides that it's time to strike. He has Reva's journal given to Vader, with her suspicions about his daughter. The news sends shockwaves to Vader, who can hardly believe what he's hearing. He immediately wants to set out and track Leia, but the Emperor promises him that they will spring a trap for them. He arranges for an information leak on the ruins of Tantus, saying there are rumors of supplies there waiting to be salvaged, including some holocrons taken from the Jedi Temple. This news is enough to entice the rebels to act, sending Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and the Skywalker siblings to infiltrate this facility. Meanwhile, Vader is ready and waiting for them. But while they begin their duel, Palpatine and Anakin remain in the hidden labs below, beginning the process of transferring more of Omega's blood into the clone. Vader watches as the four Jedi, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Luke, and Leia, march in with their lightsabers ready. Without a word, he ignites his weapon, but the others are already moving. The fight begins in a blur of motion as Luke and Leia dart forward, coordinating their attacks and loosing their sabers in a set of quick bursts. Vader backs away, blocking each attack carefully as his technique remains flawless. But as he gives ground, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan move forward, now forcing him to block from 3 fronts instead of 2. Their attacks are slower, but more powerful, further sapping his strength as Vader goes on the defensive. In a moment when none of them are attacking, he unleashes a wave of dark energy that throws them back. Panting heavily, he readies for another attack, leveling his lightsaber against all 3 of them. Leia is the first to attack, rushing forward, but he throws her back and then rushes to Obi-Wan, whose age begins to slow him down. He rains heavy blows against him that force Ahsoka to step forward and rescue him. This gives him a chance to slam into her and throw her back. Luke then follows after him, but Vader advances, his crimson blade, a deadly arc, and leaving him struggling to defend. Then Obi-Wan hooks his leg from behind and sends him toppling over. As Vader falls, Leia rushes at him, knocking his lightsaber aside. The rest of them ready their weapons, but laughter cuts them off. They look up and see Palpatine standing in the shadows.
Master.
Palpatine nods his head, then unleashes a burst of lightning that sends him writhing on the ground and struggles to break free from his hold.
You have served your purpose, Lord Vader, but your time is at an end.
A door slides open behind the Emperor, and out steps Anakin, his eyes trained on Vader with something close to contempt. The clone's saber ignites, and he begins to step forward, giving Luke and Leia a smirk. "Hello, siblings." Luke and Leia turn, their eyes widening as they see Anakin making his way toward them. He rushes towards Luke, lightsaber ready, but Leia steps forward and blocks his attack. The two stare at him in surprise.
Who are you?
Anakin responds by slamming his foot and sends them flying back as a shockwave of dark energy sends them flying. The dark energy crackles around him in ways it never did before. Now he has his full power. The two are thrown back across the room as Anakin comes at them. His lightsaber skills are far beyond their abilities and has no issue blocking their attacks. But as Vader gets up, he sees Palpatine squaring off with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. Shaking his disorientation off, he rushes towards his clone first. He ignores Luke and Leia and focuses on the clone, meeting his attacks with power. Anakin laughs and unleashes another wave of dark energy, but Vader plants his feet into the ground and meets his attack. This gives Luke and Leia a chance to attack. As Anakin struggles to raise his weapon, a blade slices across his side and causes him to wince. He tries to strike at Leia, but she dances out of the way, and instead Luke slashes his chin. Anakin hisses in pain and rubs the burn. Glancing at them, Anakin snarls, raises his hand, and throws a burst of lightning. It strikes all three of them, leaving Vader on his knees.
You see, Master, I'm far stronger than you could have ever imagined. With this power, I can become stronger than the Emperor.
He advances on Vader, stepping forward and concentrating the lightning on him. Seeing this, Luke and Leia stare at him, their lightsabers flashing, but Anakin laughs, catching their blades and keeping them pinned against the wall. Luke tries to pull his lightsaber back, but Anakin is faster. He slashes his blade up across Luke's face, the Jedi barely registering the blow before he drops to the ground. Leia screams out and bowls into Anakin, sending her stumbling as she drives her lightsaber into his side. Anakin winces in pain, but he lets the dark side flow through him, fueling him as he shoulders through the pain. Suddenly, the Sith apprentice lifts her into the air and holds her in place as he drives his lightsaber into her neck. As he drops her to the ground, Vader screams out and rises to his feet. Anakin whirls and throws another vicious lightning attack, but this doesn't hold the Dark Lord back.
Perhaps you could have been what you say, but no longer. Your journey ends here.
His lightsaber suddenly flashes and throws Anakin back. There is more power in his attack, and Vader hardly feels like he's on the verge of defeat. Watching his children fall reinvigorates him. Vader bears down on Anakin as the two engage in a battle of the dark side. The light seems to seep out of the room as the evil energies surrounding them absorb it. Anakin unleashes his full power, his strikes moving like lightning, while Vader, who seems almost untouchable, his careful movements blocking everything before unleashing bursts of movement that knock Anakin off balance. He whirls around and tries to throw another burst of lightning, but the same trick doesn't work on Vader twice, and he dissipates it with his lightsaber. Anakin raises his lightsaber to strike him, but Vader is faster and strikes off his head with a single blow.
In the end, you were never worthy.
He turns to Palpatine and joins the fight. Though Obi-Wan and Ahsoka keep Palpatine occupied, neither one has the strength to defeat him. They attack and strike from the sides, trying to keep Palpatine off balance. But the Emperor is not so easily thrown aside and remains standing, blocking each attack and occasionally hurling bolts of lightning. Their sabers deflect the worst of it, but the sheer force pushes them back inch by inch. Vader watches the Emperor and lunges towards him, but Palpatine whirls aside at the last second, his sleeves smoldering from the blow. He ignites another burst of lightning at Vader, but his anger is stronger and he remains standing.
I will not be cast aside.
Then you will be destroyed along with your entire line.
He redoubles his effort, but Ahsoka raises her lightsabers up and blocks the attack, giving Vader a chance to recover. As he's about to strike them again, Ahsoka lunges from the wall and kicks him across the face, while Obi-Wan strikes him from the side. He screams and stumbles to the side, barely catching himself against the wall. Obi-Wan rushes forward and tries to finish him off, but Palpatine manages to catch his attack and defends, though his disorientation puts him at a disadvantage. Ahsoka follows up and drives both lightsabers forward, but Palpatine wriggles aside from the attacks and stumbles away. Seeing him about to get away, Vader snarls and takes the offensive. His rage boils up through him as he rains attacks on Palpatine, further sending him off balance and sending him to the ground. He raises his lightsaber above his head and prepares to bring it down, but Palpatine reaches out with the Force, snatches up Anakin's fallen lightsaber, and drives it into Vader's stomach. The Dark Lord's eyes widen as sparks fly from his armor, electricity sparking everywhere as Palpatine pushes him down. His damaged respirator wheezes as he struggles to rise, one hand reaching out weakly toward the bodies of Luke and Leia. Palpatine laughs, raising his hands, and delivers the finishing blow. But Ahsoka and Obi-Wan channel the Force together, their combined strength sending a shockwave that knocks Palpatine back. Obi-Wan follows, rushing forward, his eyes burning in righteous fury as he barrels toward Palpatine, cutting a deep wound against his side and Ahsoka striking him across the stomach. Palpatine's eyes twitch, struggling to rise from the blows as they follow and drive their lightsabers into his body, leaving him gasping in surprise as he falls to the ground. But with this defeat, the full extent of Palpatine's experiments come to light. The Jedi give Bail Organa this information while destroying whatever remains of Tantus, ensuring that no one else will ever have the power to do what Palpatine did. Meanwhile, Lama Su reveals the secret cloning efforts of Vader. All of these highlight the corruption within the Empire so thoroughly that no one can deny it. Without Palpatine, the rebels have an opportunity to gain the upper hand, as Tarkin struggles to maintain the Empire without Palpatine's political acumen. Bail Organa requests the Jedi for aid in reconstituting the Empire, and while they agree to help where they can, they cite the past politicization of the Order as the cause of its destruction, and decide to keep their distance from direct involvement. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.